It was the fall semester of my second year at college. No longer a freshman, I felt I had a pretty strong grasp on campus life. A female friend of mine, who, I admit, I had always found attractive, from high school had just started, was living in my dorms, and often required my services as an experienced sophomore co-ed. One evening, she asked if I wanted to come over to watch a movie on her crappy 12-inch TV. Knowing it meant being cuddly on a bed, the only seating for two in the cramped dorm room, I accepted her offer. The movie had ended, and curfew was quickly approaching. Due to the dorm's policies on boys after 11, I began to put on my shoes in preparation for my departure. That's when she grabbed my shoulder. I instantly saw the look of worry in her eyes, and then realized she'd seemed off all night. She finally confided in me. Over the past 2 nights, some guy, knocks on my door. He does it so soft that when I finally wake up, I'm not really sure how long he's been there. And he talks, repeats, keeps asking if I'm sleeping and if he can come in. So far I've said nothing. I just lie here with the blankets up to my chin. This goes on for about an hour, and then he just stops and is gone. I finally asked my neighbors today if they'd heard anything or had a similar experience, and they said no. Now, this is college. I wasn't too worried. There could be any number of explanations. Most likely, it was a prank. Maybe even perpetrated by her supposed unknowing neighbors. The dorm was pretty secure. The hallway lights always on and exterior doors locked after 11. It had to be a prank, but to console my upset friend, I agreed to stay the night in case the events were to reoccur. Much to my dismay, I slept on the floor, but I did sleep. Honestly, I wasn't super concerned. If this did happen again, I'd just cowboy up, tell the guy off, and then hopefully spend the rest of the night next to a grateful warm body beneath neon purple bedsheets. I was in deep sleep when a slight tap on my shoulder abruptly woke me. It took a moment to remember where I was and regain my equilibrium, but shortly after doing so, I heard the knocking. It was really more of a tapping. Very soft, almost gentle. It paused after about every 4 or 5 beats. The only light in the room was the light coming from under the door in the hallway, with the exception of the 2 shadows made by the individual's feet. I looked to my friend, not sure how long she'd been awake. As her face came into focus, I began to register her terror. That was the first time this whole thing had actually started to get to me. Then, in my moment of vulnerability, I heard the voice. I quickly shot my attention back to the door. "Are you sleeping sweetly? Sweetly, are you sleeping? Can I come in? Let me in." A cold chill shot up my spine. His voice was soft yet rough. It didn't sound like that of some young student. While talking, he didn't even pause in his rhythmic tapping. The taps just kept going, over his words, almost muffling them. I quietly stood up and slowly approached the door. I stopped at it to get a better listen. He kept repeating a variation of the same words, sleeping and sweetly, sometimes even mixing up parts of the words like, "Are you sweeping sleetly?" This slurred dialect led me to believe that perhaps this was a drunk who somehow consecutively stumbled his way into the dorm and harassed my friend. After he finished asking for entry once more, I took down a warm gulp of air and finally spoke up. "Hey, guy, you got the wrong place. Why don't you get lost?" The tapping abruptly stopped. There were no words. I instantly wish I had thought of something cooler to say, but it seemed to do the trick. I looked down to the floor. The shadows of his feet still remained. It was probably only a few seconds, but it seemed like a lot longer. Then, one by one, the shadows disappeared as he walked away. I let out a sigh of relief and then turned back to my friend. Seeing that grateful smile and teary eyes made me feel like a badass. It apparently made me walk like a badass too, as I noticed I had a bit of a strut as I walked back to her side. As I prepared to return to the floor, she scooted against the wall and pulled open the sheets beside her. I looked at the open spot of mattress, then back to her. She gave a cutesy smile and a reassuring nod. I comically jumped in like a kid at the pool on the first day of summer. We both laughed and then nestled in closer. Then the tapping returned. I popped up with a mixed fuel of fear and anger. The shadows had also returned. This jerk made me go from badass to punk ass in less than 2 minutes. I jumped up, rushing the door, shouting as I stomped, "Hey man, I told you to get the hell out of here." I stopped at the door, hand on knob. No response from the other side. I would have killed for one of those hotel peephole thingies, but was honestly too afraid to crack the door open. After a beat, a voice spoke up. "This is the RA. Boys are not allowed on the premises overnight. For the safety of the other girls, you have to leave, or I'll report your friend." My friend let out a shit, then jumped up to answer the door. She put on a pair of pajama pants that were under the covers. I grit my teeth in disappointment, realizing she had at some point in the ordeal slipped them off. She ran up beside me, then opened the door. "Sorry," she said to the RA, then began to explain. "You see, there was this guy who—" The RA interrupted her. "Under no circumstances should a boy stay overnight in the dorm, nor should you sit helplessly in a dangerous situation. Were someone to actually come to you or any other girl's doors at night, you should dial 4 on your phone for campus security, or report the incident to me. You've been the only one we had to visit multiple times. Now get that guy out of here." It turns out, the whole thing was some RA's idea of teaching the girls a valuable lesson, and in fact, half the girls on the hall had experienced the same incident, aka the RA's boyfriend. Clearly, not only was she breaking the very rules she was enforcing by letting her boyfriend in at night, but she was doing this bizarre lesson without the knowledge of the school. Later, my friend filed a complaint, and the RA was relieved of her duties. To answer the question on everybody's mind, my genitalia never experienced the joys of my friend's crotch, nor fear-induced boning. Sadly, the end.
Before I begin this story, I'd like to point out that I'm a 14-year-old girl living in England, in a town which, according to my history teacher, used to be infamous for drunkenness, prostitution, and violence. I won't give out the name of this town, but it isn't the best place to live, and therefore attracts quite a lot of weird people. This story took place on March 5th, 2016, during the daytime, Me and my friend, whose name will not be given out, had been walking around town for a few hours. We had been looking for a dark-colored dress for my drama class, as my teacher had made it clear that we had to use semiotics to reveal things about our characters. Once we had finished shopping and had gone to various cafes to eat, my friend decided it was time for her to go. So she called up her dad to pick her up, while we waited in a small empty park behind McDonald's. The area was totally trashy, but it was somewhere convenient for parents to park, as there was a big car park next to the empty park and small road. 5 minutes later, and my friend had gone. She asked me if I wanted to head over to her place for a while, but I declined, as I was feeling a bit tired and had just texted my mom, asking if she and her boyfriend would be able to pick me up. They didn't like it when I asked them to do something, then canceled. My family practically lives by the phrase, "make your fucking mind up." During the 20 minutes I was waiting alone inside that park for my mom and her boyfriend to pick me up, I quickly began to feel like someone was watching me. It's a difficult feeling to describe, but surely you guys have felt it before. When you just know someone is staring at you. I looked up from my phone where I was checking my Facebook and Wattpad when I noticed a man, roughly 50 or so meters away in the car park, get out of his car and start staring at me. I'd also like to point out that I have terrible eyesight, and because of that, I have to wear glasses all the time. I was wearing my glasses, but even so, I couldn't make out recognizable facial features. All I could tell was that his eyes were fixed on me. Minutes went by, and every couple seconds, I would look up from my phone to the man. He was stood in the same position, leaning against his car with the door wide open, still staring directly at me. I don't know why I didn't take a picture of his license plate, but I should have. I did have my phone right there, after all. The man did not take his eyes off me the entire 20 minutes it took for my mom and her boyfriend to arrive. I have no idea what he could have wanted, but a full-grown man who watches a small, still childish-looking teenage girl from outside his car couldn't have had the best of intentions. In my town, it seems like there's a report of rape or something along those lines every single day. Once my mom's boyfriend's car pulled up, I ducked under the broken metal bar fence of the park and dashed into the car. My mom asked me how my day had gone, but my day with my friend was the last thing on my mind. I asked to get home as quickly as possible, and that's what we did. I later told my mom and my aunt what had happened, and they both told me that I should have moved out of the area to a more public place. My mom explained that it didn't matter if the place I was waiting was more convenient to pick me up from. My safety was far more important. She was completely right, no doubt about it. Since then, nothing bad has happened. I haven't been stalked or anything like that. So I really do have no clue what that man's intentions were. I had a theory that the man was one of those PE teachers who worked in my school. Some of the things I recognized about him, such as the color of his hair and the fact he had a beard, rung a bell. However, my theory on this man's identity was quickly proved wrong after realizing that the man, if he was in fact a PE teacher from my school, would not have recognized me outside of my school uniform because he had never taken my class for PE before. And what sort of PE teacher just stares at a student for a full 20 minutes from a distance? So, creepy stranger who watched me from his car, let's never meet again.